This isn't just another economic cycle. This isn't 2008. This isn't even the pandemic recession. What is approaching is a storm of a different nature, something the world has never before witnessed. This is an economic crisis triggered not by housing bubbles, reckless bankers, or a novel virus, but by intelligent machines fundamentally rewriting the very rules of productivity, value, and work. You're about to understand the first AI-induced recession. The scene shifts to a modern open-plan office. We see a mid-level marketing manager drafting a campaign. With a click, she uses an AI tool that generates a complete strategy in seconds, a task that once took her a week. The camera then pans to an empty chair in the legal department, where an AI platform now reviews thousands of documents for a fraction of the cost and time of a junior associate. This is the story of how artificial intelligence, the very technology heralded as the engine of our future growth, is simultaneously poised to trigger the most profound economic transformation since the Industrial Revolution. And the most alarming part, our entire global economic system, our governments, our central banks, our social safety nets, is completely unprepared for what is coming. The evidence is no longer hidden in research papers. It is unfolding in corporate announcements and quarterly reports. Throughout 2024, major companies announced over 300,000 layoffs across the tech, media, and finance sectors. But these, we are told, are merely efficiency measures, a course correction after years of overhiring. This is a dangerous misdiagnosis. These are the early tremors, the subtle seismic shifts that precede a full-scale economic earthquake. The traditional indicators we have relied on for decades, unemployment claims, consumer spending, housing starts, will not save us this time. This crisis operates on a different set of rules, written in code and powered by algorithms. To comprehend the coming shock, we must first look at the nature of work itself. Previous economic downturns devastated manufacturing, construction, and other blue-collar industries. The assembly line worker was the iconic victim. The AI recession will be different. It is coming, first and foremost, for the high-paying, white-collar jobs we believed were the bedrock of a modern, stable economy. Accountants, software engineers, graphic designers, financial analysts, and paralegals, roles that require years of education and complex cognitive work, are suddenly and terrifyingly vulnerable to automation in ways we never thought possible. The collar of the worker being displaced has changed from blue to white. The corporate world has stumbled upon a truth that is terrifying for employees, but irresistible to shareholders and cost-conscious executives. They are discovering that AI doesn't just augment human workers, making them slightly more efficient. In a growing number of knowledge-based tasks, it can replace them entirely. And unlike a human employee, an AI system does not require a salary, health insurance, paid time off, or sleep. It can operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and its performance improves with each task it completes. For companies staring down economic pressure and shareholder demands for profitability, the business case is becoming mathematically undeniable. The question is shifting from can we use AI to can we afford not to use AI? This creates a terrifying paradox for the broader economy. Imagine a scenario where corporate profits remain strong or even soar because companies have slashed their largest expense, their workforce. Stock prices for these efficient, lean companies could continue to climb. Yet, simultaneously, consumer spending, the true lifeblood of most modern economies, could plummet because millions of those former consumers have lost their primary source of income. This decoupling of corporate health from public welfare is a recipe for systemic collapse. It is a scenario that our current economic models have never had to predict. This leads to the second, and perhaps more dangerous, dimension of this crisis. Our financial guardians are flying blind. The scene changes to the neoclassical facade of the Federal Reserve Building. Inside, economists are staring at conflicting data. Productivity numbers are skyrocketing, a classic sign of a healthy economy. But unemployment claims are also beginning to tick upwards in specific sectors. Should the Fed raise interest rates to combat potential inflation from increased productivity? Or should it slash rates to stimulate an economy that is quietly shedding its professional class? Their traditional tools, refined over a century of fighting conventional recessions, are useless against a force that simultaneously boosts output while destroying the consumers who drive demand. The very definition of a recession, 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth, may not even apply. What if GDP continues to grow, powered by hyper-efficient AI-driven corporations, while unemployment reaches depression-era levels in certain professions? Our outdated metrics will fail to sound the alarm until it is far too late. The social contract between capital and labor, already strained, is facing its ultimate stress test. The impact will ripple outwards with brutal speed. The commercial real estate market, which we previously examined, will face a second, more devastating wave of collapse. If millions of knowledge workers are no longer employed, who will fill the office towers? The demand for commercial space will evaporate overnight, crippling banks and investors who are already exposed. The housing market, propped up by dual, high-income households, will tremble as those incomes disappear. Student loan debt, taken on to secure these now obsolete careers, will become an unbearable burden on an entire generation, triggering a wave of defaults that could make the 2008 subprime crisis look minor in comparison. And then there's the human cost, the psychological toll that is impossible to quantify on a balance sheet. What happens to a society when its most educated and ambitious members find their skills devalued, their careers truncated by a machine? The crisis of purpose, the erosion of identity tied to professional work, will create a social upheaval that no stimulus package can easily repair. This is not a distant science fiction future. The foundational layers are being poured right now, today, in boardrooms and tech conferences. The warning signs are flashing. The question is no longer if this transition will cause economic disruption, but how severe the disruption will be, and whether we have the courage and the wisdom to build a new economic model for a post-AI world. The old rules are breaking. The new ones are being written by intelligence we are only just beginning to understand. The countdown has already begun.